Shalom and good day all, this is Tehillim29, back again for another DC comic review. And in this DC comic review, I'm going to be reviewing The World of Krypton, issue 6 of 6, to which we practically move into a finale. And last but not least, Aquaman, issue 3. Well, time to get started on the first one that I'll be reviewing. I'll just get things quickly prepared. So, for the first one I'll be reviewing, it is World of Krypton. And starting off with first things first, and that is the cover rating. Now, of course, the question is, does this cover in any way, shape or form connect to something that's happening inside of the story? Sure enough it does, to which I give it a 7.5 out of 10. I'll now show some of the internal art in relation to the story, and we'll get to see some of the things that are happening with the story alongside with the art. And I'll give the art rating after that. So as things begin, some of the art around the beginning of the story, we have some things happening with the Kryptonians, and of course with Zod's forces, who's also willing to, well, do something unfavorable in regards to the Jorels, or the House of El. I'll now jump towards the middle. As we start to jump towards the middle, we get a bit of a fight between Zod and Jorel, as well as with many of the residents on Krypton, and some of the things that are happening there. Of course, we have an appearance of this particular suit, and in this I'm willing to somewhat agree with what Comic Boom brought up about this. And yes, it would have been a little bit more better if it was more iconic to Superman instead of Jor-El. This particular suit would have been nicer to see him wear something else, but I can understand that they were trying to bring across something in the scene. And last but not least, time to move towards the end. And as we move towards the end, we see Jor-El with Lara, and finally a bit of a decision's been made up. We can see Krypto in the background there, and they have finally chosen the planet to which they want to send who will be Superman. For the internal art, I gave it a 7 out of 10. Now it's time to move in relation to the area of the story. Now, did we get any comic references to any of the previous issues? No, but did it affect the score? We'll soon find out. What about in the area of time? Did we get any form of countdown? Not really. It would have been nice if it was included. And last but not least, into the next thing, the locations. We of course had Krypton itself. We also had Security Tower 1 and the area of the Phantom Zone. The cast of characters. It was very minuscule this time in regards to cast of characters. We had Alora, Zod, Kara-El, Zor-El, Jor-El, Kara, and Lara Al. Overall story rating, I gave a 7.5 out of 10. It was very interesting, and of course there's a little bit of discussion if there might be, say, maybe a part 2 to this series. We'll soon find out in the future and in any solicits through DC Comics. Now it's time to move to the next review. So moving into the next comic to be reviewed, it is Aquaman issue 3, to which we see Jackson Hyde on the cover. And first things first, do we see in relation to this cover. Does this cover in any way, shape or form connect to something that's happening inside of the story? Sure enough it does, but I give it a 7 out of 10. I'll now jump to showing some of the internal art around the beginning, middle and end, as well as getting to see some of the things that are happening in relation to the story, and then I'll move on to the story rating. As things begin in this story and some of the art, we get to see that Mira is actually using some technology to communicate with someone who is on Mars, as the person on Mars is somewhat doing a bit of an autopsy of someone who's died there, until eventually she comes back to her daughter. Now to move to the middle section. As we jump towards the middle of the story, we finally have Aquaman, Arthur Curry, catch up with Mira, and they have a bit of a discussion of things that have been occurring. He explains that he's been a little bit dishonest in relation to some things because of some of the events that have happened in previous. And it would have been nice to have a comic reference to somewhat make what he's saying a little bit more clearer, even if it's connected to a certain Aquaman comic book run arc. As things progress in the story, we end up meeting back up again with Jackson Hyde, and also some of the things that are happening around him and his character. We get to see him meet up with Kate Kane, Batwoman, and we also seem to encounter a bit of a villain of sorts. And Arthur Curry and Black Manta are also chasing after Jackson Hyde, because he's actually caused some harm to someone who was in the prison. So they want answers. For the internal art, I decided to give it a 7 out of 10. Now it's time to move in relation to the story. First things first, did we get any comic references? And as we saw earlier, no we didn't. Moving into the next area, time really wasn't set out in this, though it wouldn't hurt the story in regards to like some of the things that are happening in regards to some of the investigations to which the characters are working on. The next is the area of the locations. We had Atlantis in the Ninth Trade. We had the East End and the West End. We had Mars, we had the aquarium or the prison, we had Gotham, and we had a couple of other places that I really terribly, my fault, I do admit. But I'll move on to the cast of characters, to which we have Black Manta, Aquaman, Kendi, Mira, Bree, Garth, the original Aqualad, Jackson Hyde, and last but not least, Batwoman. Giving this story an overall total of a 7 out of 10. Until then, let's keep it colourful and have yourself an awesome day.